Hello, this is Tony Allen here from Foster and Allen, and you're listening to Jason Dale on Six Towns Radio.
The Jason Dale Radio Show, the way you like it. The Jason Dale Radio Show, the way you like it.
Hello.
Hello, is that Tony?
Speaking, yeah.
Tony, hello, Jason Dale at Six Towns Radio in Stoke-on-Trent.
How are you doing?
I'm very well, how are you?
Oh, very good, yeah.
Good, Tony. Great. Okay, Tony, thanks for taking the time to chat with us today.
That's a talk, no problem.
Great, and you're performing at the Lyceum Theatre in Crewe on the 19th of November.
Yeah, we haven't been there for a few years, so it's good to be back there.
Good. You've performed there before, have you?
Well, we played in Crewe many years ago, yeah. I'm not 100% sure what theatre we were in before. It was a good few years ago, but I presume it's the same one.
The Lyceum, yeah, it's the big one in Crewe. That's the nearest one to our station. We're in Stoke-on-Trent. You've performed in Stoke before, haven't you, at the Regent Theatre?
Stoke, yeah.
Yeah. Whereabouts are you now, Tony?
Funny enough, I'm in Lurgan in Armagh.
In Lurgan?
County Armagh, Northern Ireland.
Really? Wow. Oh, great. Okay, so what's it like to be back on tour? Do you enjoy being on the road, Tony?
Yeah, I do. I love being on the road. Yeah, I like travelling, and I like airports, and I like hotels, and I love theatres. I love, I don't like too big a show. I don't like, I like something like the 500, 600, 700 seater where you have a nice audience that join in and enjoy the night with you. You know.
Lovely. I've been doing some research on your career, and I've heard you had a big hit in the 80s, didn't you?
We did. Well, we started out first in 75, and
75.
then which means we're almost 40 years in the road. But then we recorded a song in 77, 78 called "The Bunch of Time." It was a hit here in Ireland. Then in 82, our record company in Dublin, they took it to London and got it released on a London-based Irish record company called Ritz Records.
Yeah.
And it went to number 18 in the charts, and we finished up appearing on Top of the Pops because of that.
Right. Okay.
So that kind of launched us in the British scene. You know, we went from playing the pubs and clubs around Ireland and the Irish centres in England to doing concert tours all over the UK and eventually all over Australia, New Zealand, South Africa.
Yeah, I see here A Bunch of Time entered the Irish charts in 79. It was your first #1 single, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah, it was our first #1 single in Ireland, and as I said, it went off then to the UK and was a hit in 82.
And then, of course, came Maggie.
Maggie was, our follow-up to A Bunch of Time was a song called Old Flames, which went into the British charts, but only somewhere in the top 40. And then the following year we released Maggie, and Maggie was again, it made 27 or 28 in the charts, which was, in those days, was huge positions because it was, the charts were very, very busy in those days. It was hard to get there, but the nice thing about Maggie was it ended up being released in Australia and New Zealand and went to #1 in Australia and New Zealand for 5 weeks.
Right.
And introduced us to a whole new world down the other side of the world, down in Australia and New Zealand.
Lovely. Just before we go on about some of the other hits, we're going to play A Bunch of Time to give some of our listeners an idea if they've not heard some of your material. Can you introduce
Take them back in time?
Yeah. And what year was this one out, Tony?
Sorry?
What year was A Bunch of Time out?
Well, A Bunch of Time, as I said, was #1 in the Irish charts in 79, and then it was released in the UK in 82.
82.
And that's the one that got us on the Top of the Pops. That's the song that started. And it was actually an English folk song that was taken back to Ireland in the early 70s by Christy Moore, famous Irish folk singer.
Oh, right.
And that's where we got it. We got it from Christy. So Christy is the thank for our international success.
Lovely. I'm going to play it now. Can you introduce this one, please, Tony?
Yeah, this is a song, as I said, was found in the UK back in the early days by Christy Moore, and we recorded it back in 1979, A Bunch of Time.
The Jason Dale Radio Show, the way you like it.
Lovely. That was A Bunch of Time from Foster and Allen, and we're talking live today to Mr. Tony Allen. Hello, Allen.
I'm very good now, yeah.
Good.
I'm taking it nice and easy back here in Northern Ireland.
Good. What's the weather like over there?
It's good today, yeah, it's quite nice. It is, I suppose, in fairness, the summer is starting to dwindle away a bit now in the evenings and the nights are beginning to cool down, but it is still beautiful weather, yeah.
Lovely. Just going back to the song and you're performing. You performed on Top of the Pops with that song, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. We performed on Top of the Pops 1982. It was an amazing show. We, not something that we ever planned on doing, but the Furies had been there the year before with Sweet 16, and I think the British radio, like people like Terry Wogan and Gloria Hunniford and people like that, all took to both songs and started playing them, and it was an unusual night because when we got there, Dexys Midnight Runners were on the same show, and the Goombay Dance Band were number one.
Yeah.
And also on the show was Adam and the Ants, and the Boomtown Rats with Bob Geldof. So
it was a great time.
Colourful, that was a great night.
There was a lot going on in music. Of course, you got the new wave and the punk music, and so with the Boomtown Rats, Adam and the Ants. Who was the other one you mentioned?
Goombay Dance Band and
Dexys Midnight Runners.
Midnight Runners, yeah.
Were they going through their folk period at the time? They had a lot of violins and banjos, didn't they? At
yeah,
one point?
They had their accordions and all that night. Yeah, you're right. It was sort of the start of the. Later on in the 80s, you had people like the Pogues and Shane MacGowan and all kinds of the music changed a lot. Of course, it's changed a lot again now. It's back to.
Yeah, but folk music's always been there, hasn't it? Even like you mentioned Dexys Midnight Runners, and the Pogues brought it in with a kind of a punky feel, and the Dexys were like a soul folk type of. They were like young soul folk warrior type image.
I think everything. I think everything comes from folk a bit. If you go back,
yeah.
Far enough, it's all really. And I think that's why most people like a lot of different types of music, because it's all basically folk. I mean, most people sit down to write the craziest of rock songs and pop songs have been written by a guy sitting down with an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
And I'm sure when they start singing the first day, it's basically like a folk song. And folk music is still mad alive, which is good.
Well, I'm sure you'll agree, like a lot of country music came from folk, obviously the Scottish, the Irish settlers in America, and, the European with the fiddles, the accordions, that was all based on folk, wasn't it, a lot of the country music?
Of course. I think the Irish and the Scots sort of started a lot of music because they travelled a lot.
Yeah.
They were the people who emigrated and travelled and took, I mean, if you look at bluegrass music in America, that all came from Scotland and from Ireland when the settlers moved over and brought that music with them. And it's all about folk music. And most songs, a good country song you'll find it started out as a folk song, and even lots of pop songs. Folk is the music.
Going back to the start of our conversation, you mentioned you like audiences of about 500 to 700. Do you feel as though you can communicate and you can project the songs and get a sing-along kind of atmosphere with that kind of size crowd?
Yeah, I think, when you have hits first and you're playing to maybe 1,800 or 2,000 people, and it's great to have those crowds and it's great to be on a big stage and all that.
Yeah.
A lot of the time it's hard to project what you're trying to, especially if you're doing easy listening music, and it's different if you're doing rock music or if you're a big country band, with the big band. But if you're a nice easy listening band, it's hard to project that onto a big audience. Whereas I find now Foston are at a place where I love to be. If you walk into a theatre, maybe it's 400, 500, 600, 700 people, and you really have, if you have a full house, you have a great audience. Everyone can see and hear what's going on, and they can join in or they can listen, and it's much easier work for that type of an audience.
Yeah, I'm just looking at your facts here. You've sold albums and video sales in excess of 22 million worldwide.
Yeah, that's what the record company tells us. All right, yeah. I don't think Mick's bank account or mine would account for it all, but I'm sure we did sell that many because we've been selling records for almost 40 years.
Yeah.
We've sold them, as I said, we sold them in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, America, Canada, UK. I mean, we had 5 singles in the British charts in the early 80s.
Yeah.
We've had an album in the British charts every year for 32 years. So it's a lot of product out on the market.
Yeah. And you've been working. Sorry.
We are working all the time. Yeah. And
constantly.
Of course, the new form of selling now is the internet and things like that. And whereas it's a little bit strange at the start, but it's a good. People can sit at home now and do their shopping.
Yes, lovely. We're going to play one of the other biggest hits, Maggie. We're going to play that now. How did this one come about again, Tony?
Well, this was funny enough. This song was written by I believe a Scottish man who lived in Canada. Was a school teacher in Canada, and he wrote this song about one of his pupils. It was recorded by the great John Count McCormack back in the early 1920s, but it was written in the end of the last century, and it was a hit for a lot of different people. It's a worldwide song. We had loads of different versions of it, but I just actually liked this song, and we were recording it for an album track, and the record company said, "Oh no, we'll take this out as a single," and it came out as a follow-up. It was the third single. Bunch of Time was the first one, then All Flames, then Maggie, and it was the one that a record company in Australia picked up and released in Australia, and it started moving from one state to another out there, and the next thing it was number one in Australia and New Zealand. So it's one of these. A lot of people would reckon this as their favourite Foster and Allen song. You know, I have to say it's one of my favourite songs.
It's a lovely song. My father sings it all the time. It's one of his songs that he always sings it. Every now and then I hear him going, Maggie.
Oh, well, that's nice to know.
It is, isn't it? He loves the Irish stuff, and so do I. I'm going to play this one. Will you introduce this one again, please, for me, Tony?
Yeah, sure. This is a song that we found, had been floating around, and we always wanted to record it, and we recorded it as an album track, and it came out as a single, and it's a beautiful, again, I suppose, really a folk song, Maggie.
You're listening to 87.7 FM, the new sound of Staffordshire, Six Towns Radio.
That was lovely. That was Maggie from Foster and Allen, and we're still with Tony Allen. Hi, Alan. Are you there?
I'm here, so yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're just going back to your personal life. You're the youngest of a family of 9 children.
Yeah, there was 9 of us in the family, plus our father and mother. And well, my father played the fiddle, and he played a lot of traditional music. And my mum was a very good singer, but she died quite young. She died in the early 60s. And but all of the family played music in some shape. I've got a brother, Tom, who travels under the name of T.R. Dallas. He's a country singer here in Ireland, and all of the family would play music. And now, at this stage, all the next generation are all playing. All the kids from all the families are all playing music. They're in choirs, or they're in bands, or they're all involved in the music in some shape or form.
Were you ever going to go professional with any members of the family, or any of your siblings?
No. When I was, funny enough, I was the youngest of the 9, so they all had to sort of picked up their own. I worked for a good few years with Tom, with my brother, in different bands in Ireland, and then when Mick came along, he came up with the idea of having a 2-piece, Foster and Allen, and Tom went on doing his own solo career, but not really. Most of the family, they love music and they love playing music, but they all have their own jobs, and a lot of people that in Ireland, nearly everyone in Ireland plays music, but not everybody wants to take it as a full-time job, because it is a very time-consuming job, and it's like sport or football or being a jockey or whatever. It takes up all of your time while you're training, while you're getting ready to go on.
Yeah, lovely. And how did you meet Mick Foster?
I met Mick in the late 60s, about 1967. I joined a band in the Midlands. I was only about 15 at the time, and I joined this band, and Mick was already in the band, and we worked together for a few years, and then we kind of went our separate ways, and we got back together in a band in 1974, and then in 1975, Mick came up with the idea of starting a folk 2-piece. He played the accordion, I played the keyboards, and that's how Foster and Allen started, and that's the way. Well, we have 5 of us on stage now. We have a acoustic guitar player, a bass player, and a keyboard player on stage with us as part of the show, but still only the 2 of us are recording and as the group,
Lovely. And where do you see what's happening now, and where are you going in the future? Any album?
Yes, we have a new. We've just finished the television series here in Ireland on the Irish channel TG Cahir. That finished last Sunday night, and that starts now on 191 Sky, and that runs until Christmas. And we have a new album which we've just recorded. It's called The Gold and Silver Days. And on this album, we've done a couple of tracks with a woman in London called Sally Mulready. Sally was a counsellor, and she was in her day-to-day work. She met up with a lot of older people who were living on their own, and people who'd been widowed or family had grown up and were living on their own. She got to know them, and she got them all involved in a choir in London. It's a great idea. They're all part of this choir in the London Irish area. And the youngest person in the choir is 72, and the oldest person is 92. And it's a great idea. For this woman came up with the idea to get people who live on their own and mightn't have too many people with them, to get them out and about. She got this choir going, and we're after recording 2 songs with this choir. One is called The Working Man, and the other is called The Gold and Silver Days. So that's part of of our new DVD and CD, which will be out for Christmas.
Absolutely fantastic. You do quite a few Christmas songs, don't you? You've had a Christmas album out before.
We have had a full album out before, and we did a song not last year, but last year we did 2 songs with Shane Ward. One was Galway Girl, and the other was called One Little Christmas Tree, which was a Christmas song. And we got a lot of reaction to that Christmas song. We did a video to go with that song. My 2 sons are involved in art, and they put together an animated video for the song. And I like Christmas songs. I suppose everybody grows up listening to Christmas songs.
It's great fun. It is.
Something you have to do at some stage, a Christmas album. It's like a gospel album. You're going to do one, sooner or later, because you got a lot of gospel songs in your head that you were singing over the years, and you've got a lot of Christmas songs in your head, and eventually you're going to say, well, let's go and do it, So.
What's your favourite Christmas song, Tony?
Gosh, it's hard to know, I suppose Silent Night's a great Christmas song, and White Christmas, and, Blue Christmas, because the old Elvis hit. I think it all goes back to when you'd be watching the old television shows with Bing Crosby and Perry Como and people like that,
Yeah.
Val Doonican always had a Christmas show, and that takes you back. And the old, again, it's like the gospel songs. You find the old ones are hard to beat,
Great. Would you find your audience is all age groups? Do you get, is it like grandchildren to grandparents? The whole...
We do now. We get an awful lot of older people, a lot of people, as I said, like people who've been coming to us for years and years, and now you find that the people who brought their kids, now their grandkids are coming along bringing their parents as well, so it is, the audience is a lot of younger people, a lot of people in their late 30s, and a lot of people in their 40s and 50s now coming out to see us, and of course an awful lot of people, we have people coming in their 70s and 80s coming in and saying, well, I've seen you for 20 years,
Yes.
It's great that we're there and they're still there.
It's a good family show. Well, I'm going to mention your show again. You can catch Foster and Allen at the Lyceum Theatre in Crewe on the 19th of November. And you're going to play all the hits. You won't be doing the Christmas songs at that point, will you? It's a little later on.
No, it'll be a bit early for them,
But, Tony, before we finish, can I ask a big favour from you?
Yes, sir.
Could you do a jingle for my show? Do you mind?
Absolutely, no problem.
Could you say, this is Tony Allen, and you're listening to Jason Dale on Six Towns Radio.
Jason Dale, let me just make sure.
Thank you.
I have your name here somewhere, right? Yes, Jason, I have Dale, isn't it?
Yeah.
On Six Towns Radio.
Six Towns Radio, yeah.
Hello, this is Tony Allen here from Foster and Allen, and you're listening to Jason Dale on Six Towns Radio.
That's lovely. Would you mind doing a generic one for my director here at the Six Towns, just for Six Towns Radio, the same thing?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Hello, this is Tony Allen here from Foster and Allen, and you're tuned into Six Towns Radio.
Absolutely fantastic. Tony, it's been lovely chatting with you, and thank you for taking the time.
The woman who looks after our Appreciation Society, Pauline Wakefield. Pauline is from Stoke. She lives in Stoke and has been looking after our affairs there for I suppose 30 years now.
Who's that, Tony? Sorry, can you repeat that?
Pauline and Dennis Wakefield, they live in Stoke.
Oh, really?
And she's been looking after our... You just might play a request for her some of the days.
And they run your Appreciation Society?
She has run it for over 30 years, I'd say now, yeah.
Wow. Another amazing thing is another Irish chap. You know Daniel O'Donnell?
I know Daniel very well. My wife is a backing singer in Daniel's band.
Right, okay. Did you know his Appreciation Society is based in Stoke?
Is that right?
Yeah, it has been for years.
Oh, who does that?
Isn't that a coincidence?
Oh, that's a good one.
It's true. Just talking about, how you communicate with your fans, how can our listeners find out more about Foster and Allen? Do you have a Facebook or any social media?
Well, fosterandallen.ie, yeah.
What, the fosterandallen.ie? So it's fosterandallen.ie. You can find out any information.
We have a Facebook account and a Twitter account, but it's all on, if you just Google in Foster and Allen, it'll all come up on that.
On the website. Fantastic, Tony. Have a great tour 2014, and we'll see you at the Lyceum in Crewe on the 19th of November.
God bless you.
Thanks, Tony. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.
The Jason Dale Radio Show. The way you like it. Going out to the Six Towns and the world.